In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. If you would name, this is the second, the grace of God, this is the second lecture, for the second tutorial that we're going to have for more Coptic letters. We're going to be covering 6 more Coptic letters. 2 of them are pretty obvious, very similar to English, and the rest are going to be vowels. And we're going to get more in depth with the pronunciation that has to do with the Coptic. So, let's start with the letter. The first letter that we have here is the letter A. A is pronounced as an A. It's not an E, it's not an A, just an A. Such as when you say bet, or even in Arabic bit. So somehow it's like if you know French, it's like accent aigu. That's pretty much how it sounds, like just an A. And it's just a simple E, except it's not like geometrical, it's more curved. So it very looks like E in English, and it's pronounced in the very same way you would do accent aigu. And the letter is called A. So that's a pretty easy one, I guess. It looks like English, pronounced very similar to English. The second one we have is the Epsilon. This is the Epsilon. That's usually how I write it. This Epsilon is pronounced as in this. Let's look at it this time. It has different rules. You remember the previous rule we had is when there is an O, it's pronounced as an O, so it becomes an U. So if there's an Omicron Epsilon, it becomes an U. However, if you have an Epsilon by itself, it's pronounced as a long E, so it's pronounced as an E, such as when we say Kyrie. When you say Kyrie, you do Kyrie. So it becomes as an E when you say it by itself, not just preceded by any. If it's preceded by any consonant, it just becomes an E, long E, such as Kyrie eleison. If it has an O before it, it's pronounced as an U. Okay, so that's the rule. That's when you see it by itself. When I say by itself, usually it is at the beginning of a sentence or it's preceded by a consonant. Let's look at the second part of the U, which is the Omicron. Let's actually do the Omicron and the Omega together because they're kind of related. So you have both of them are pronounced as an O. So you have the O part, but then one is a short O, and one is a long O. We're gonna see examples. So the small one is we call it Omicron, or you can think of it like micron. So you have a micron and a mega. A mega is a big one, it's a long one. A micron is a small one, like micrometer, and megabyte. So that's the difference, is like it's a long O. We're gonna see how it's long O, so just let's see how it's written first. So you have an O, just a simple O, just like English, rounds as an O. However, in the second part, if you look at it, it's because it's a long O. You remember, remember the eta and the iota, because we're gonna see how it's also very similar. Here, when you had a iota was E, like in French, the letter E in Français, so just an E. When you wanted to have a long E, such as the difference between, what do you say, fit and feed. So, feed is an iota and another connect them. It becomes a E. Actually very similar to Epsilon, however, so this one is just simple, like a simple line. This one is a line and another line, and you connect them together. This one becomes a iota, this one becomes an eta. Omicron, so long E, short E. This one is very similar. You have a short one, and you have a long one. For the long one, think of an O and an O, and then let me see if I can get an eraser, a proper one. Okay, so I cannot get an eraser from the tabs here. Anyway, so think of when you remove, it's like this part. Think of when you remove these parts, just like you just remove the connections between them to make it look nice. What does it look like? Looks like a W. That's pretty much it. So it's like this. So that's what the W, or in our case double O, not W, it's double O in our case, or omega. That's where it comes from. It's actually two O's connected to each other, and you just remove the connection here, and it becomes a omega. So very similar to W, except it's more curved. Very similar to the eta here. The eta is just the one, and you connect it together. Here you connect it, here you just remove the connection. So that's the Omicron. Omega. When you see two O's, it's a long O. When you see a short O, it's longer. How is it a long O and short O? It's like this. Like a but. So you say but, it's a long short O, spot, or then boat. So like, say, if you actually pronounce it properly in Coptic, it would be like but and boat, or but and boat. Just a simple small O and a big O. Will make more sense. Like but and boat. So eta and iota was fit and feet, fill and feel. So similarly, but and boat. What else? Yeah, I can remember more examples with O. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You're gonna see a lot of it. One example that actually comes to mind is this word. O. That means glory. So in the beginning of the liturgy, just before, right after the offertory, the priest said, when he said glory and honor and glory, he said u nim u tayot, u. So you see that u and then o and then u. One thing actually about the so we've seen this how this is analogous to an Omicron and an Omega. This one is an O, this one is an O, just connected. This one becomes an O, and this one becomes like an OA. Like how you say an OA. For the Omega and the Eta, they're usually heavy letters. Like you cannot say, if you say OY, you cannot use them as you cannot use this as a W. You can use it as a Y. If you put I'm gonna explain this properly. So those are hard letters, which means there's kind of a stop before them. It's like you always give it the full pronunciation without converting the O to a W or the I or the E into a Y. Which means, let's say you want to say yo. So it would be a iota, and if you put an E in it, it's going to be O. So you see, like it becomes E-O. That would be not be yo, because you gotta pronounce the entire E. Similarly for the W, for the Omega here, it never pronounced as a W. It can never be, if you want to say, let's say you wanna, for some reason you wanna write English in Coptic letters. If you wanna say one, you cannot do this. You cannot do one, because this would be O-un. However, if you say one, you would rather use the O, and then it becomes O-1. So the Omega and the Eta are always like heavy letters. They're always pronounced. Let's say you have, for some reason you have O. So how we said U-O-U. It will not be U-O-U. It will be U-O. You have to give it its full, like its full power. U-O. You give it the entire O, and then you go back U. Similarly, if you have an E, let's say you have, say you want to write this. So if you want to say Kia would be this is Kia. However, if you want to say, if you actually read that one, it would be Kia. Because you gotta give this one an E, like a full E. And it's usually like, whenever it has a connection to a vowel next to it, you gotta give it a stop. Like, it will be Ia, not Ia, it will be an Ia. But this one will be a Kia, but this one will be a Kia. That's the difference. Similarly, just use the same example. This one will be Koa, but this one will be Koa. So just, that's the one thing to watch out for, because in a lot of words you see them between next to vowels. And when you study something called Jenkem, this kind of like, they have their own stop that comes with them. You gotta give the full pronunciation. They do not merge with different vowels. And then the fifth letter we have is pretty easy. It's a K called Kappa. As you probably know the brand, just Kappa. And it's pronounced as a K. Nothing too special, just a Kappa. Actually, just said as a normal English K. The last one we have is May. So May, similar to Nay, if you remember Nay. Have we covered Nay? I think we should have covered Nay. But yes, we've covered Nay. So it's a May, say May, Nay. So you have a May, just pronounce an M, just simple M, no rules, no exception, just a May. So this is a K, this is a May. And this kind of looks like, you know, like it's an M. I know it looks a bit like Q, but it is an M. So like you see how you write M. French, you would do this in French. Eventually, it just becomes this or this. Usually, if I want to write my name, it starts with M. If I want to say Maria, we like Maria, or like a lowercase, it'd be Maria. Or this. I usually prefer it to be closed. Just however, like it depends on how thick the pen is. But that's pretty much how we would write Maria. I think we've covered all letters for Maria. Actually, yeah, you can write Maria. So yeah, Maria, Mariam. Yeah. So yeah, say Mary. We've covered all letters in Coptic now. Okay, so we were done with the letters. Let's actually just do some. Let's do some more words and try and pronounce them. So let's start with the first one. It's N. Let's actually try and pronounce letter by letter. So I have an N, just an N. This one is an E, short E, so it'll be an E. And then the last one is M, so it becomes Nim. So it becomes Nim. Okay, this one, let's read this one. This one is an M. This one is an O, just an O. This one is a iota, could be an I, or it could be a Y. Actually, if you want to play it safe, always make it a Y, because a Y could be a I. So it becomes Moi. Remember, it's like Moinan and Tekin. That's a Moi. Okay. And then this one, letter by letters, you have an N. Next letter is an E, so it's Ne. For the A, it could be long or short. So if you want to say this could be Nem or Name. And the hem is like Nem penio tetayo. Nem means and or with. So Nem. Nim means who. Moi means give. Don't need to memorize those now. And then Nem means with or and. And then K. And this one is just a simple K. That's right, pronunciation. Actually, pronunciation is the same as writing, just K. K means and, but it's Greek, so that's Greek, and that's Coptic. You don't need to worry about Greek and Coptic, that's a different lesson that we're gonna get to. Here are some letters that you can, here are some words you can actually start memorizing. I would highly recommend you start memorizing those. It's like 5 words per tutorial if you do one per day. And they're pretty common, like you will see them a lot. And you can actually start seeing patterns between words that will eventually make your memorization a bit easier. And because you read them periodically, so start actually reading your hymns in Coptic and look at the English translation at the same time, if you can. It will help you out in learning Coptic quite fast. But start by reading first. Like start by reading, make sure you can read properly, make sure you can read with a good pace, and then it'll be easy on you reading, actually figuring out which word is Coptic and the translation. So start with the first one. We have Anok. So you have A, An, Nei, OK. So it's Anok. Anok is I. It's just an I. That means, or like, it's like, just an I. It's like, or Anna. And the hymn is like Anok Pepi Kush. The next one is Anon. Just another one, except Anon, it means we. We said Anon Piklaus. So Anon means we, and then Anok is I. You will not see, let's say we ask, when we say the verb we ask, we say tentiho. So where is we? No, it's we when it's like, it's followed by verb to be. Usually it's, Coptic is similar to Arabic that, the subject comes as part of the verb. However, it's not like English, like we eat, or we ask, we asked, or we will ask. No, it's like, if you want to say we ask, or we did, or we asked, or we will ask, it's a different beginning, it's a different suffix. But when you just want to say we, or I am, or we are, you just say we. So it's Anon, or Anok. The next one is Ron. So Chen Efron, you say in the name. Ron means name. And the last one, mean and or with. So when we say with the cherubim, like Nemni cherubim, Nemni seraphim. So with the cherubim and with the seraphim. That's pretty much it. Here are some. This is the homework. It should be pretty simple. You have some words here. I would highly recommend that you go letter by letter. There are no rules here. No 2 letters that gets combined give you any special pronunciation. They're pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. Just trying to read them, write the pronunciation, and getting used to actually write the word. They will get used to reading them and writing them. Will be efficient and actually being more fluent in Coptic. And trying to pronounce them. Just go letter by letter. Look back at the rules, and you should match it 1-to-1. Then eventually use the full sentence that you can try writing. Simply again to start writing a pronunciation, go letter by letter, and you should be fine. And that's it for today.